A man walks into a bar. He'd been saving for months, and tonight's the night. He's heard stories about this bottle, Grey Goose vodka, made in the Cognac region of France, from the finest winter wheat and pure limestone spring water. The price tag is steep, but as his fingers wrap around the cool, textured glass, he feels a sense of worth. It's a symbol of his own success, a reward for his hard work. A psychologist studying him might note a different narrative. When the drink enters his system, the neurochemistry is virtually identical to what he'd get from a far cheaper option. The difference isn't in the liquid, it's in the story his brain is telling itself. An expensive placebo has been shown to reduce pain better than a cheap one, and a higher price tag can literally modulate a person's perception of a drug's efficacy, even if the drug is completely inert.
He isn't just paying for vodka, he's paying for the right to tell himself a satisfying story. This isn't a story about trickery, it's a story about the architecture of human certainty. We like to think we see the world as it is. We like to think that when we spend more, we get more. But the mind is not a mirror, it's a master storyteller, constantly weaving narratives to resolve the tension between what we believe and what we do. When we make a choice, especially an expensive one, we experience a psychological friction known as cognitive dissonance. To avoid the discomfort of feeling foolish, we don't just accept our decision, we become its fiercest defender, upgrading our perception of its value to match its cost. This is the price-quality heuristic, a mental shortcut that has elevated Grey Goose into a $2 billion empire. Its creator, Sidney Frank, understood that you don't compete on the battlefield of objective reality. You compete on the battlefield of perception. He didn't undercut his rivals. He priced his vodka higher to signal it was in a different class entirely. And he gave it a story rooted in French sophistication, a place not even known for vodka, because he knew a high price needs a compelling myth to truly work. But our blindness goes far beyond bottles of booze. The most profound illusions are the ones we live by. Consider the history of diamonds. For nearly a century, the De Beers Corporation convinced generations that a diamond engagement ring was the essential symbol of eternal love, a standard invented largely in a 1947 ad campaign. They controlled the global supply, creating an artificial scarcity for stones that are not actually rare, and convinced consumers that 2 months' salary was the proper price for devotion. For decades, no one questioned it. Now, with the rise of lab-grown diamonds that are chemically identical and cost a fraction, the illusion is cracking. The very CEO of De Beers, the man who built the myth, now warns that these cheaper stones are a huge con. A spectacular irony that shows how easily even the architects of perception mistake their own mythology for reality. The reality is that identical products are often manufactured in the same factories, with one price tag 10 times higher than the other. The only difference is the story on the box. A 2023 study found that people perceive a non-effective drug as significantly more effective simply because they were told it was expensive. The mind, it turns out, is an active collaborator in its own deception. It doesn't just experience the world, it constructs it. And if we're not careful, we spend our lives constructing a world where the things we do and buy are justified, not because they are true, but because we need them to be. So, here is the challenge. Pull your head out of the sand. Not just from marketing, but from the deeper, stronger forces that ask for your blind compliance. Question the price. Question the story. Question your own mind's ability to tell the difference. Because the most expensive thing we own isn't a bottle or a bauble. It's the comfort of our own unexamined certainty. And sometimes that's a debt that never gets paid. So you learn, price is not truth. Story is not evidence. That is a useful lesson. But like all useful lessons, it hardens into a trap. Because now you assume that every high price is a lie. Every story without a stamp is snake oil. You have become skeptical in exactly the way the system wants you to be. Selectively blind, trusting only the approved channels. And the most approved channel of all is the FDA. Here is what the FDA really is: a multi-billion-dollar gatekeeper. To get a drug approved, you need between $1 and $3 billion. Not because the science is hard, sometimes it is, but because the process was designed for a specific kind of product, a single molecule, a patentable chemical, a massive randomized trial that can be measured in simple endpoints. If your treatment does not fit that mold, you cannot get the stamp. Not because your treatment fails, but because you cannot afford the game. Now consider what happens when you can afford it. A drug that is marginally better than a placebo, or marginally better than an existing drug, gets approved. It cost $2 billion to get there. That cost is recovered by charging $50,000 a year. The patient assumes the price reflects efficacy. It does not. It reflects the approval process. And sometimes the approved drug is later pulled from the market. AstraZeneca's COVID vaccine, faulty for some, withdrawn. The stamp was there. The stamp did not guarantee safety. So the stamp is not a guarantee of truth. It is a guarantee of wealth. Now let us talk about something that does not have the stamp. A small biotech lab in Winnipeg. 30 years of work. A platform called Megabiotics. Egg-derived antibodies that target harmful bacteria in the gut. No needles, no antibiotics, no systemic absorption. Just food-derived targeted nutrition that works locally. The product is called Gut Fix. The science is real. There is a Phase 2 clinical trial for C. difficile. There are patents. There are real results in animal models and humans. But when people ask, is it FDA approved? The answer is no. And the conversation ends. Not because the product is ineffective, because the product does not fit the mold. The FDA's process was not built for a platform that uses egg antibodies. It was not built for a daily chewable that works in the gut without entering the bloodstream. It was not built for a treatment that costs relatively little to manufacture, but required 3 decades of research to figure out. The system does not know what to do with something genuinely new, so it does nothing. And the public, trained to trust only the stamp, does nothing too. Here is the deeper philosophical point. Hippocrates said 2,400 years ago that all disease begins in the gut. Modern microbiome science is proving him right. Inflammation, immunity, joint pain, brain fog, respiratory health, even mood, all connected to the gut. If you could manipulate the gut to prevent or eliminate a wide range of diseases, what would that do to the pharmaceutical industry? It would put a significant portion of it out of business. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is basic economics. An industry that profits from treating chronic disease has no incentive to fund a cheap, preventive, non-patentable platform that makes those diseases less common. And the FDA, funded largely by user fees from that same industry, has no incentive to create a fast, cheap approval pathway for something that does not fit the blockbuster drug model. So the system does not attack the science. It does not even read the papers. It simply ignores the science. And the public, trained to see only what is stamped, ignores it too. Now you see the trap. You learn to doubt marketing. Good. But you did not learn to doubt the institution that replaced marketing. You transferred your trust from advertising to regulation, without examining whether that regulation is designed to find truth or to protect a business model. The FDA approves treatments that are marginally better than nothing. It approves drugs that later kill people. It does not approve treatments that cost too little to trial or that do not fit the chemical drug paradigm. And you, the intelligent consumer, the skeptical citizen, nod and say, "No stamp, no thanks." That is not skepticism. That is compliance in a different suit. The real question is not whether gut fix works. The real question is, how do you know what works? Do you rely on a stamp that costs $3 billion to earn? Do you rely on a system that has every financial incentive to ignore cheap, preventive, gut-based solutions? Or do you do your own homework? Do you read the science? Do you look at the data? Do you ask who profits from your doubt?
Because the most expensive belief you hold is not that Grey Goose is better vodka. The most expensive belief is that the FDA stamp is the only truth that matters. That belief keeps you paying $50,000 a year for marginal drugs. That belief keeps you ignoring a 30-year-old platform from a Winnipeg lab that actually works. That belief keeps the healthcare industry in business, when the real goal should be to put itself out of business. Pull your head out of the sand, not just from marketing, from the deeper, stronger force, the comfortable belief that the system you trust is designed to find the truth. Sometimes the truth is not stamped. Sometimes the truth is just a small lab, old science, and a product that cost what it actually cost to make, not what it cost to buy a stamp.